In this video, we're going far beyond the main quest line. We're diving into the very soul of Skyrim. From the creation of Nirn itself, to the rise of the Nords from the icy continent of Atmora, to the dragon cults, the shouting tongues, the return of Alduin, the civil war, the Daedra, the divines, and the fate of the Dragonborn. This is the complete lore of Skyrim. Not just what you see on the surface, but what lies beneath. The forgotten legends, the hidden truths, the myths that make this world more than just a game. Whether you've played for hundreds of hours, or you're just stepping out of Helgen for the first time, welcome. You're about to walk a road paved in prophecy, betrayal, divinity, and destiny. This is Skyrim, Chapter 1. The Myth Behind the Mountains. Creation, Divines, and Daedra. Before there was Skyrim, before the Nords, the dragons, the Thalmor, and the shouts that split the sky, there was nothing. Not time. Not space, just Urbis, a chaotic, unknowable swirl of everything and nothing. From this formless sea, two opposing forces emerged, Anu and Padome. They were not gods in the way we understand gods, though principles, yet the essence of stasis and change, light and shadow, creation and destruction. They were concepts before they were beings. Anu was order, Padome was chaos. From their cosmic tension came everything. Their mingling spawned the spirits, the Ada, meaning original spirits. Some of these spirits would become gods, others would become demons. Some would even become the very bones of the world itself. Among them was Lorkhan, the trickster, the god of space and time, a being of ambition and mystery. It was Lorkhan who proposed a radical idea. Let us create a mortal world, a place where time flows, where choices have meaning, where spirits could experience birth, life, and death. Some of the Etzada agreed. Spirits like Akatosh, Time, Arche, Love, and Kinnereth. They poured part of their essence into the construction of the mortal realm, known as Mundus. But others opposed it, for creating a world of limits required sacrifice. Many spirits would be diminished, made mortal, even destroyed in the process. And so began the Great Schism. Lorkhan was blamed for the cost of creation. According to the Ultima, High Elves, he tricked the gods into giving up their power. In their telling, he was a villain, his heart literally torn from his chest and flung across the sky, becoming Massa and Secunda, Nirn's twin moons. But the Nords and the men of Tamriel saw it differently. They believed Lorkhan was a heroic rebel, a visionary who gave mortals the gift of possibility, of freedom, of mortality itself. In their eyes, the price of death was worth the power to choose. And this is where the divide between man and mare begins. The elves mourn the loss of their divine heritage. They strive to return to the state of the Daedra, the original spirits, by ascending through purity and magical mastery. To them, Mundus is a prison, and mortality is a flaw to be overcome. The races of men, they see Mundus as a gift, the stage on which life becomes meaningful, the place where greatness is earned, not given. These opposing views would shape centuries of war, culture, and politics across Tamriel. and they are still at the core of Skyrim's civil war. But before we go there, let's talk about the gods themselves. The spirits who sacrificed themselves to create Mundus became known as the Daedra, the divines, most notable among them Akatosh, the dragon god of time, chief deity of the pantheon, father of all dragons and guardian of stability; Arche, god of life and death, keeper of the cycle. No undead may rise without violating his domain; Kynareth, goddess of the sky, the wind. She is worshipped strongly in Skyrim, particularly by the Nords. Stendarr, god of mercy and justice, patron of righteous warriors and protectors. Mara, the goddess of love and compassion. Julianos, deity of wisdom, logic, and magic. Zenithar, god of work, commerce, and honest labor. Talos, the controversial ninth divine, once a man, Tiber Septim, who ascended to godhood. More on him later. Then, there are the Daedric princes, beings who refused to sacrifice their essence and did not help create Mundus. They exist outside of time, unchanged by the mortal realm. And they are not evil in the traditional sense, but they are alien, incomprehensible. Each represents a core aspect of reality taken to its extreme. Molag Bal, the prince of domination and enslavement. Sheogorath, the mad god of chaos. Meridia, the lady of infinite energies and enemy of the undead. Boethiah, prince of plots and treachery. Azura, the prince of dusk and dawn, one of the few Daedra respected by some mortal cultures. And unlike the Daedra, the Daedric princes can still act directly in the mortal world. That's why their influence is so strong in Skyrim. Even when their shrines are hidden, their presence is never far. So, what does all this mean? It means the very fabric of Skyrim, its mountains, its rivers, its people, is born of myth. The civil war, the dragons, the shouts, they're echoes of ancient cosmic events. Every battle fought, every shrine built, every tomb haunted, it's all part of something bigger. To understand Skyrim is to understand that this world is built on sacrifice, on shattered divinity, on beings who made the choice to create a world where you and I, mortals, could matter. The Elder Scrolls universe doesn't just have lore, it is lore, layered, esoteric, alive. And Skyrim? It's just one page in a book that was written in stars, blood, and breath. Chapter 2. Blood and Stone. The History of Skyrim. To understand Skyrim, you must first understand the people who claimed it, the Nords. But they didn't come from Skyrim, not originally. Their story begins far to the north, in a frozen continent known as Atmora, a harsh and ancient land lost now to myth, ruin, and ice. Atmora was the cradle of man, and it was dying. Some say it froze over completely. Others whisper that civil war tore it apart. Whatever the cause, one thing is certain. The people of Atmora, the ancestors of the Nords, fled their homeland in search of a new beginning. Leading them was a warrior of legendary might, Ysgramor. He was more than a hero. He was a conqueror, a prophet, and in the eyes of many Nords, a god. He brought with him 2 sons and the sacred 500 companions, a group of warriors whose names are etched into the ice and stone of Skyrim's foundations. But the land they found was not empty. It was already home to the Snow Elves, an ancient magical race who had lived in Skyrim for generations. The elves, called Thalmor, were graceful, intelligent, and attuned to powerful magics. They did not welcome the newcomers. Tensions grew quickly. When Isgramr's people settled and built the city of Sarthol, it sparked an uneasy peace. But peace would not last. In an event the Nords call the Night of Tears, the Snow Elves launched a brutal surprise attack and slaughtered the Atmoran settlers, men, women, and children. Sarthol was burned to ash. Isgramr's son, Isgramr, was slain. But Isgramr escaped, fleeing back across the Sea of Ghosts. He returned to Atmora, and when he came back to Skyrim, he brought war. The return was not a battle, it was a reckoning. Isgramr returned with a new army, a second wave of 500 companions, and vengeance carved into steel. The war that followed was long and merciless. The Snow Elves were powerful, but the Nords fought like legends, and they didn't stop until the elves were shattered. The Nords drove the Snow Elves underground, literally. Hunted, exiled, and desperate, many sought refuge with the Dwemer, the mysterious deep elves who ruled below the mountains. The Dwemer offered them shelter at a cost. They forced the Snow Elves to consume toxic fungus that robbed them of their sight, twisted their minds, and slowly transformed them into the former, the blind, shrieking creatures that now haunt the deepest caverns of Skyrim. And just like that, an entire civilization was erased. The Nords became the rulers of Skyrim. Ysgramor, immortalized in stone and song, founded the first human city, Windhelm, the City of Kings. From there, the first empire of the Nords began to spread. But this empire wasn't built just on swords. It was built on belief. The Nords believed in the old ways. In Shor, the Nordic version of Lorcan, the trickster god who created the world. They revered Kine, the warrior goddess of storms. They believed the world was a battleground between their ancestors and the arrogant elves who once tried to cage them. And they fought accordingly. Nords do not build clean, quiet temples. They build tombs. They leave offerings to dead kings. They shout at the heavens. To them, glory is found in battle, and honor in a good death. This is the spiritual backbone of Skyrim, not just snow and steel, but memory, ancestry, the past etched into every ruin and stone. But even after conquering Skyrim, the Nords were never fully unified. Petty kingdoms formed, clans clashed, the line of Ysgramor faded, and with it, a sense of order. Skyrim fell into centuries of division, until another powerful figure rose. King Harald, the first true king to unify all of Skyrim under one banner. He outlawed the use of Elven language. He purged the old Merrick influences. He reforged Skyrim in the image of man, and for a time, peace returned. But the echoes of those ancient wars never left. The elves had been humiliated, but not forgotten. The Snow Elves were gone, but the Ultma, Bosma, and Dwemer remained, watching and waiting. And the very culture of the Nords, fierce, independent, unbending, made them difficult allies and dangerous enemies. Skyrim became a powder keg of race, culture, and faith. Eventually, Skyrim joined the empire of Remen Cyrodiil, and for a time, the Nords served under a unified banner. But that was long ago. Now, in the Fourth Era, Skyrim is once again divided. And history, as it tends to do, is beginning to repeat itself. The Nords have not forgotten the Night of Tears. The Thalmor have not forgiven the rise of Talos. The Dragonborn walks the land once more, and the ancient war songs stir beneath the ground. The land of Skyrim remembers. Its stones remember, and soon it will bleed again. Chapter 3: Fire in the Sky, the return of the dragons and the rise of the Dragonborn. The dragons were never meant to return. They were ancient beings, long thought extinct, relegated to myths, murals, and forgotten tombs. But in Skyrim, the past is never dead, it only sleeps. And when Alduin the World Eater appeared in the skies above Helgen, roaring fire and death into the world once more, it wasn't just the return of a monster. It was the return of a prophecy. To understand Alduin's coming, we must go back, not just centuries, but eras, to a time when dragons ruled Skyrim not as beasts, but as gods. Long before the Dragonborn, before the Septums, before even the founding of Windhelm, the dragon cult reigned. Dragons were worshipped as living deities, children of Akatosh, the god of time. They possessed immense knowledge, language, and magical power. They did not simply speak. Their words shaped reality. This was the Foom, the voice, the power of the shout. Through the Foom, dragons could hurl enemies through the air, set the sky ablaze, or slow the passage of time itself. And their mortal followers, the dragon priests, were given great power in return for their loyalty. See, each region of Skyrim was ruled by a different dragon priest, mummified lords who lived in barrows and tombs, still clinging to power long after death. And above them all was Alduin. Alduin was no ordinary dragon. In Nordic myth, he was more than a tyrant. He was the End, the World Eater, the destroyer who would devour the current age and bring about the next. But Alduin did not fulfill that destiny, at least not then, because something changed. The ancient Nords, under the leadership of heroes like Jurgen Windcaller, began to resist. Some learned the dragon's own language and used it against them. Others turned away from violence and toward understanding. The most important of these figures was Jurgen himself, founder of the Greybeards, and the first to teach that the voice was not a weapon, but a gift of the gods, meant to be used only in service of balance and wisdom. Eventually, a rebellion rose. In a climactic battle atop the throat of the world, Alduin was confronted by three Nordic heroes, Hakon, Gormleif, and Feldir, but they could not defeat him. So they did something unprecedented. They used an Elder Scroll, a device of unfathomable power, tied directly to the flow of time itself, to cast Alduin out of their era. Not killed, not destroyed, banished. They threw the World Eater forward into time, into a future he would eventually return to finish what he started. And that future is now. When Alduin appeared over Helgen in the Fourth Era, it was not an accident. It was prophecy fulfilled. The end times had come, But the prophecy spoke not only of the World Eater, however, of the one who would rise to stop him, a mortal with the soul of a dragon. The Dragonborn. The Dragonborn is not just a title, it is a metaphysical paradox. A human or elf born with the soul and voice of a dragon, able to slay dragons and absorb their essence, able to speak the Foom with no training, able to change reality with breath. You are the living antithesis of Alduin, the chaos to his destiny, the devourer of devourers. The Greybeards recognize this instantly. They summon you with the voice itself, heard across the entire province. You are drawn to High Hrothgar, the oldest place of learning, to study the way of the voice, and to walk the same path as Jurgen Windcaller. But not all who oppose Alduin agree on how to do it. Paarthurnax, an ancient dragon who betrayed his kin, believes in redemption. In using the voice to break the cycle, he teaches you not to dominate, but to understand. The Blades, on the other hand, remnants of the ancient dragon hunting order, see all dragons as threats. To them, there can be no mercy, not even for Paarthurnax. And once again, Skyrim becomes a stage for a question larger than war. Can evil truly change, or must it be destroyed? As you defeat Alduin's minions, uncover ancient word walls, and recover shouts lost to time, you become more than a warrior. You become a legend. And when Alduin returns, devouring souls and threatening Songard itself, the Nordic afterlife, you do not face him on a battlefield. You face him at the edge of the world. In Songard, aided by the spirits of the very heroes who banished him, you do what no one else in all of history could. You end him. The World Eater dies. Not with prophecy, not with divine intervention, but with your voice. The Dragonborn's victory is more than personal. It is cosmic. It proves that fate can be challenged, that the cycles can be broken, that even the end of time can be resisted. But even with Alduin gone, questions remain. Why was he truly sent forward in time? Did the Elder Scrolls choose you, or did you choose your own path? Was Alduin a villain, or just a piece in a much larger puzzle? Quote, "And who, or what, writes the destiny of the Dragonborn?" That is a question for the scrolls themselves. Chapter 4. Empire and Rebellion. The Civil War and the Thalmor Shadow. Not all wars are fought with fire and dragons. Some are fought with flags, words, and memories. When you enter Skyrim in the Fourth Era, the land is already tearing at the seams. The great threat of Alduin looms, yes, but so too does another, more immediate conflict. A war that pits brother against brother. The Civil War. On one side stands the Imperial Legion, loyal to the Empire of Tamriel, now centered in Cyrodiil. On the other, the Stormcloaks, Nord rebels who fight for Skyrim's independence, led by Ulfric Stormcloak, the self-proclaimed true High King. To understand how this war began, we need to understand what was lost and what was taken. Decades before Skyrim's story begins, the Empire was locked in a brutal conflict with the Old Mary Dominion, a powerful alliance of Altmer, High Elves, from the Somerset Isles. These elves, zealots of racial superiority, had rebuilt their military might and rebranded themselves as the Thalmor, a theocratic government obsessed with purging the world of human influence, especially the worship of Talos. Talos, once a mortal man named Tiber Septim, had ascended to godhood after unifying Tamriel and founding the Third Empire. He became the Ninth Divine, a symbol of humanity's strength, a god forged from man. But to the Thalmor, that was blasphemy. A human becoming a god, a human eclipsing the Daedra. Unacceptable. When the Great War broke out, the Empire fought valiantly, but it was bleeding. The Oblivion Crisis, the loss of emperors, and the decay of its provinces had left it fractured and weak. The Aldemari Dominion offered a peace treaty, the White Gold Concordat. The terms were humiliating. Most notably, the worship of Talos was banned. It was more than a political loss, it was a spiritual one. For the Nords, Talos wasn't just a god, he was their god. A man born in Skyrim who became divine. His legacy was a core pillar of Nord identity. To outlaw his worship was to erase their history. The Empire accepted the terms, and to many Nords, that was the ultimate betrayal. Enter Ulfric Stormcloak. Once a student of the Greybeards, Ulfric had learned the power of the Thru, but left High Hrothgar to fight in the Great War. He became a fierce nationalist, convinced that the Empire had sold out its soul. When the High King of Skyrim, Tori, refused to openly defy the Concordat, Ulfric challenged him in single combat. Using the power of the voice, he shouted the king to his knees and killed him. Some called it an execution, others called it murder. But either way, it sparked the Civil War. Now, Skyrim is a battlefield. The Stormcloaks claim they are fighting for freedom, for the right to worship Talos, for the right to govern themselves without elven interference. They see the Empire as broken, crumbling, and no longer worthy of their loyalty. The Imperials, meanwhile, argue that Skyrim leaving the Empire only weakens humanity further. The Thalmor are still a threat, and the only hope of resisting them is through unity, not division. Both sides believe they are saving Skyrim. But here's the twist. The player may never fully see. The Thalmor want this war. According to their own secret documents, the Thalmor believe the Civil War is perfect. It keeps the Empire weak, prevents a united front, and breeds resentment. They want the fighting to continue indefinitely. If Ulfric wins, Skyrim breaks away. The Empire is weaker. If the Empire wins, the people resent them for crushing tradition. The damage is still done. Either way, the Thalmor benefit. And they are watching, always. Their agents move in silence, hunting down Talos worshippers, torturing dissenters, and manipulating both sides to keep the fire burning. They even claim they helped free Ulfric from captivity during the Great War, subtly encouraging the rebellion they now publicly condemn. The player, thrust into this civil conflict, must make a choice. Do you side with the Stormcloaks, embracing Nord tradition, freedom, and defiance, knowing their leadership may be short-sighted or manipulated? Or do you side with the Empire, hoping to restore unity, order, and strength, while knowing they compromised their honor to survive? There are no clean answers. Ulfric is both a patriot and a murderer. The Empire is both a protector and a pawn. The Thalmor are both distant and everywhere. And what of the people? Farmers conscripted into a war they don't believe in. Towns caught in the crossfire. Shrines to Talos smashed in silence. The old gods watched from mountains, wondering if their children have truly forgotten them. Skyrim's civil war is more than just a side quest. It is a mirror, showing us what happens when belief becomes dogma, when history is rewritten by politics, and when a people cannot decide who they truly are. In the end, the real war is not between red and blue banners, but within Skyrim's soul itself. Chapter 5: Shadows of Skyrim. The Guilds, Orders, and Unseen Powers. Skyrim may be torn by war and prophecy, but not all power lies on battlefields or mountain tops. Beneath the clamor of the civil war, behind the dragons and politics, there are older powers, quieter ones, moving in secret. These are the guilds, the orders, and the forgotten houses of influence that shape Skyrim's fate from behind closed doors. We begin with the Dark Brotherhood. To most of Skyrim, they are a myth, a children's story meant to frighten disobedient sons and daughters. Sleep lightly, for the Brotherhood watches. But the Brotherhood is very real, a shadow cult of assassins bound by blood and guided by a chilling code, the 5 Tenets. Though those tenets have crumbled in recent years, one thing remains: the Black Sacrament, a ritual of desperation, performed by the hopeless. Whispered in the dark, if done correctly, it brings a listener's ear and a blade in the night. At the heart of the Brotherhood is Sithis, the Void incarnate, not a god of death. Death is a function. Sithis is the nothing that came before creation. To his followers, every murder is a tribute to the Great Void, a reminder that life is a temporary illusion. And then there is the Night Mother, a corpse spoken of as if alive, a once mortal prophet, embalmed and sealed in a coffin, whispering sacred names to her listener. Kill this one, spare that one. In Skyrim, the Brotherhood is a fractured shell of its former self, hunted, scattered, reduced to a handful of outcasts hidden beneath the city of Falkreath. But in time, you may rise through their ranks and bring them back to bloody glory. Where the Brotherhood deals in death, another guild deals in shadows. The Thieves Guild. Based in the sewer-like undercity of Riften, the guild once controlled commerce and crime across all of Skyrim. Their symbol, a stylized diamond, was once seen carved into homes, barns, and shops. A warning, a protection. But now, the guild is fractured, weakened by corruption, haunted by debt, and controlled by Maven Blackbriar, a noblewoman whose wealth and ruthlessness run deeper than any river in Skyrim. Still, the heart of the guild beats through gold, through stealth, through nocturnal, the Daedric Prince of Night and Shadow, to whom the guild once owed its rise. Those who serve her become nightingales, guardians of the Twilight Sepulchre, wielding ancient gifts in exchange for eternal servitude. While the Brotherhood and Thieves Guild operate in the dark, another faction clings to the light of knowledge, however fragile that light may be. The College of Winterhold. Once a beacon of magical study, the college now stands isolated, both physically and culturally. Suspicion of magic runs deep in Skyrim. To the average Nord, magic is something foreign, elven, unnatural. And Winterhold itself is cursed. Once a thriving city, most of it was swallowed by the sea in a great collapse, an event many blame on the mages of the college. Whether the accusation is true or not, the damage is done. The college remains aloof, its scholars focused on ancient tomes, mystical artifacts, and unraveling forces far older than any empire. Among its secrets are the Eye of Magnus, a powerful artifact of uncertain origin that threatens to unravel reality itself. The college is less a school and more a dam holding back cosmic floodwaters it barely understands. And finally, there are the companions. To the people of Skyrim, they are heroes. Mercenaries, fighters for coin and glory. Based in Joravaskrit, the oldest building in Whiterun, they are the living legacy of Ysgramor and his 500 companions. But the modern companions hold a darker truth beneath their need-hole legends. Their inner circle, known as the Circle, is cursed with lycanthropy. They are werewolves, infected by a pact made long ago with the Daedric lord Hirusain, the Hunter. To Hirusain, the wild hunt is sacred. The transformation is not a curse, but a blessing, a stripping away of civilization in favor of instinct and primal rage. But some among the companions now question this path. They seek to break the curse, to reclaim their honor. In this conflict, tradition versus purity, strength versus corruption, Skyrim reflects itself once again. Each of these factions offers a mirror. The Brotherhood reveals the face of death, the Thieves Guild, the cost of power, the College, the danger of knowledge, the Companions, the conflict between man and beast. And you, the Dragonborn, are not just an observer. You can rise in their ranks, shape their future, or dismantle them entirely. In a land like Skyrim, power comes in many forms. Some wield it with steel, others with silence. But all of it leaves a mark. Chapter 6. Gods of Madness and Shadow. The Daedric Princes of Skyrim. In Skyrim, you'll find gods in temples, heroes in halls, and kings on thrones. But the most powerful beings in Tamriel aren't always visible. Some whisper to you through shrines. Some pull your strings from their own twisted realms. And some speak to you directly. These are the Daedric Princes. To the average Nord, the Daedra are demons, wicked, inhuman, symbols of everything unnatural and dangerous in the world. And to be fair, they're not wrong. But the truth is more complicated. The Daedra are not evil in the way mortals understand evil. They are primordial forces, the spirits who didn't sacrifice themselves to help create the mortal world. While the Aedra, the divines, gave part of their essence to build Mundus, the Daedra remained whole, untouched, immortal. And unlike the distant divines, the Daedra can act. They do act, and they often use mortals, especially you, to further their alien agendas. In Skyrim, 15 Daedric princes have influence, each with a unique realm, philosophy, and personality. Let's explore some of the most infamous. Sheogorath, the Mad God, the Prince of madness, the Daedra of chaos, unpredictability, and cheese wheels. Sheogorath isn't just insane, he's brilliant. He's the living embodiment of contradiction. One moment charming, the next murderous. He offers quests that range from surreal to horrifying. His realm, the Shivering Isles, is split between mania and dementia, reflecting two sides of madness. But here's the twist. He wasn't always this way. Sheogorath is believed to be the transformed shell of Jiggalag, the Daedric Prince of Order. Cursed by the other Daedra, Jiggalag is forced to become Sheogorath in an endless cycle of destruction and rebirth. What does Sheogorath want? Perhaps just your attention, or your cheese, or your soul. Molag Bal, the king of domination. One of the most feared princes, Molag Bal delights in control. He seeks to dominate mortals, to break them. He is the father of vampires in Tamriel, and his shrine in Markov's abandoned house leads to one of Skyrim's most disturbing quests. He forces you to beat a man to death with a rusty mace, and then rewards you for it. His realm, Cold Harbor, is a twisted mockery of Nirn, a cold, lifeless reflection filled with suffering. To serve him is to accept brutality as law. Meridia, the Lady of Infinite Energies. One of the rare princes considered benevolent, at least by comparison. Meridia despises the undead. Necromancy, liches, and abominations like the Draugr offend her to the core. Her quest leads you to Kilcreath Temple, where she demands you purge a necromancer defiling her sanctum. Greed. In return, she grants you Dawnbreaker, a sword imbued with her cleansing light. But Meridia is still a Daedra, and she demands loyalty. Even when her goals align with goodness, her methods carry divine arrogance. Boethia, the Prince of Plots. Boethia represents deceit, conspiracy, and the celebration of strength through conflict. Her followers believe that true power is forged in betrayal. Her quest in Skyrim asks you to sacrifice a follower, someone who trusts you. If you do, she gives you her blessing. If you refuse, you've failed her before you've begun. Boethia's sphere is not cruelty, it's evolution. She destroys to make you stronger, or at least to see who survives. Nocturnal, Mistress of Shadows. Worshipped quietly by the Thieves Guild, Nocturnal is not interested in domination. She is the shadows, the silence, the space between certainty and doubt. She rules over the Evergloam, a realm of eternal twilight. And she guards the Skeleton Key, a Daedric artifact that can open any lock, but also corrupts those who hold it for too long. To serve Nocturnal is to serve secrecy itself, to be unseen, forgotten. She offers no warmth, only purpose. Mehunus Dagon, the Daedric Prince of Destruction. You may remember him from Oblivion, where he nearly conquered Tamriel during the Oblivion Crisis. And in Skyrim, he's quieter, but no less dangerous. If you complete the Pieces of the Past quest, you can reforge Mehunus's razor, a dagger with a chance to instantly kill anything it strikes. Mehunus doesn't ask for subtlety. He wants destruction, chaos, the ending of empires, and when he offers power, it always comes with a cost. Azura, Hairsign, Clavicus Vile, Vermina. Each prince has their realm, their artifacts, and their worshippers. Some grant you power, others deceive you, but none offer their gifts without expecting something in return. They are not gods, they are not devils, they are Daedra. And in Skyrim, their influence is everywhere, etched into ancient stone, whispered in dreams, and summoned in moments of desperation. Many Nords would burn their shrines if they could, but even they know there are things in this world older than dragons, older than men, and the Daedra are always watching. Chapter 7: The Echo of the Dragon. Legacy of the Dragonborn. Skyrim's history is carved in stone, in tombs, in legends. But when you arrive, it begins to change. You are not a common sellsword or wandering mage. You are something more. Something ancient. Something whispered in prophecy and feared by gods and monsters alike. You are Dragonborn. What does that mean? In the simplest sense, it means you are mortal, born with the soul of a dragon. You can use the thruum, the voice, with no formal training. You absorb the essence of slain dragons. You bend reality with your words. You are a walking paradox. But Dragonborn is more than a title. It is a thread woven through time. The first to bear it was Miraak, a dragon priest who turned on his own kind. He entered a pact with Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric prince of forbidden knowledge, and was banished for his betrayal. In the Dragonborn DLC, you face him, a reflection of what you could become. Then came Tiber Septim, Talos, the first Dragonborn to unify Tamriel under one banner. He was a warlord, a general, a god. He harnessed the power of the voice to shatter walls and armies. His legacy reshaped the entire world, and his divinity, whether real or political, still divides the living to this day. Now, it is your turn. But unlike Miraak or Talos, you don't inherit a kingdom. You inherit a chaos. When you awaken, the world is in flux. The dragons have returned. The civil war threatens to split Skyrim. The Daedra manipulate from the shadows. The guilds are broken or fading. And the old ways, Nords shouting at gods and sky, are slipping into legend. And into that storm steps you. The Dragonborn is not fated to become one thing. You are not bound to prophecy in the way Alduin is. You are free. You can become a savior or a tyrant. You can rebuild the Dark Brotherhood and become a master of death. Or burn it to ash and walk away. You can rise in the ranks of the Thieves Guild, steal Nocturnal's favor, and fade into shadow. Or become Archmage and rewrite what magic means to Skyrim. You can support the Empire, or destroy it. Crown a new High King, or behead one. You are not the chosen one in the way stories normally frame it. You are the disruptor, the anomaly, the change. And that's what makes the Dragonborn unique. Because no matter which path you choose, you leave a scar on the land. A guard in Whiterun will always remember the day you shouted a man off a cliff. A child will remember that you returned a lost sword from a ghost-filled crypt. A vampire lord will remember the time you refused to kneel. The Thalmor will remember your silence, or your fury. And perhaps Even the gods will remember that. For a time, they watched. Because in Skyrim, you are not just in the story. You are the story. Bonus lore. Echoes beyond the scroll. Even in a land as steeped in legend as Skyrim, there are truths buried so deeply, most will never uncover them. You've walked the land. You've slain dragons. You've spoken with Daedra. You've chosen sides in wars older than your bloodline. But now, we go deeper. This is where the fabric of reality itself begins to fray. This is Elder Scrolls metaphysics. Let's start with the Elder Scrolls themselves, the namesake of the series. What are they, really? In the lore, the scrolls are not just books or magical items. They are literal recordings of possibility. They contain every event that ever has happened, and every event that ever could happen. To read one is to step outside of time. To understand one is to unmake your place in the universe. That's why moth priests, those who train to read the scrolls, gradually go blind. The price of vision is sight. And yet, these scrolls can change. An event might be written, but if someone, say the Dragonborn, defies it, the scroll rewrites itself around that deviation. The scrolls are prophecy made flexible. They don't dictate fate, they document it after it's chosen. Which brings us to a deeper, stranger concept. Chim. Chim, pronounced Kim, is one of the most misunderstood ideas in Elder Scrolls lore, and perhaps the most profound. In the simplest terms, Chim is the realization that the universe is an illusion, and loving it anyway. You see, in Elder Scrolls cosmology, everything is a dream. The dream of the Godhead, not a god. The Godhead, the being dreaming all of reality, including the gods, including the scrolls, including you. Most who discover this truth go mad. They see the dream and realize they are nothing, and they disappear, zero-summing out of existence. But some accept it. They realize they are fictional, but they embrace the illusion. They gain awareness and power within the dream without rejecting it. This is Chim. It's said that Tiber Septim, Talos, achieved Chim. That's how he ascended to godhood, not through magic or blood, but through awareness. The Dragonborn may walk a similar path. After all, you read Elder Scrolls, you alter fate, you bend time, and more than once, you act as if you know the world isn't real. Maybe it's not, but if Chim is the secret to divine existence, then the Dreamer may have found something even stranger. Let's talk about them. The Dwemer, or Deep Elves, were once one of the most advanced civilizations in all of Tamriel. They built vast underground cities, created machines powered by soul energy, and mastered scientific principles the rest of the world barely understands today. And then, they vanished. In one moment, at the Battle of Red Mountain, the entire race disappeared, instantly. Why? Some say it was because of their attempt to create their own god. Numidium, a brass golem the size of a mountain. Others claim they tampered too deeply with the nature of divinity and identity, trying to erase their mortality from the equation of reality itself. The truth, still unknown. Only one known Dwemer remains, Yagrum Bagon, stranded in the plane of oblivion during the disappearance, now kept alive only through corpus disease and the care of the tribunal in Morrowind. But there are whispers. Some believe the Dwemer succeeded in becoming more than mortal. Others say they ceased to exist entirely, not dead, just gone. Their technology still exists in Skyrim. The ruins of Arcthams, Blackreach, and others are tombs of brass and steam, home to automatons still protecting secrets centuries old. And their devices still function, as if waiting for someone to understand. But the Dwemer aren't the only ones who sought to change the nature of reality. Even the Daedra and Daedra represent opposing philosophies in the battle for what creation should be. Remember, the Daedra are weakened. They gave up parts of themselves to create the world. That's why they are distant. Their power is tied to existence itself. The Daedra, however, did not participate in creation. They remain whole, powerful, and free. This is why they can interact with mortals. This is why they grant artifacts, appear in person, and even love or torment individuals directly. But that difference goes deeper. Some scholars believe the Daedra envy mortals. We live, we die, we change. In a world where gods are static, frozen in spheres of influence, mortals are the only beings capable of true growth. That's why mortals are always caught in Daedric games. That's why the gods, both good and evil, are obsessed with you. Because you can do something they can't. You can choose. And maybe, in choosing, in walking your path, in defying destiny, you inch closer to divinity than any god ever has. And now, you've heard the myths. You've walked the paths of gods and monsters. You've seen Skyrim as it truly is. Not just a land of snow and swords, but of prophecy, rebellion, and ancient forces still shaping the world. Whether you shouted Alduin from the sky, sat the throne of solitude, or simply wandered the frozen tundra helping strangers, your story matters. Because in Skyrim, the world remembers you. And in the Elder Scrolls, nothing is ever truly forgotten. If this journey resonated with you, please consider liking the video, sharing it with fellow adventurers, and subscribing for more deep dives into the games we love. Until next time, keep your blade sharp, your mind open, and your soul ready. And may the Nine guide your path.